everyone. I hope you are having a good Tuesday. Had to think for a second what day it is. I'm still struck on what month it is because it's snowing here, and so I'm trying to figure that part out. Let me close this out over here. But I hope everything is going well, and of course these are office hours. If you haven't joined before and you happen to be online and you have a question, go ahead and share those questions with me. Today I wanted to talk about fiber because yesterday, you guys probably know that I've been running this digestive tune-up for the last we're doing a 30-day digestive tune-up for practitioners and their patients, as well as individuals who just wanted to sign up. And we got a lot of really good questions about fiber. And I think one of the key things that's really confusing for people is, hey, I know I should get in this amount of fiber. They probably even know I'm not getting in as much fiber as I need to be because most of us are not getting in, are not reaching that goal of whether it's 25 or above grams or 38 or above grams. And then in addition, there are recommendations such as, trying to make at least 20 of those 25, which may seem super high, prebiotic fibers. Many of us get in a minimal amount of that. And which fibers are really good at feeding our good bacteria, because they don't all do the same thing, in terms of that. But then the counterbalance is, it can actually, when we're taking in fiber, it can actually be harder on our digestive system. So what I wanted to do today, by way of using our fiber evaluation, is take you through how you can do an assessment, how you can help build somebody's better fiber plan, show you the fiber menu as well that we have for adults. We also have one for kids, so if we want to take that in. And then go over some of the ways to use that as part of whether you're focusing on the holidays and you're trying to help people balance their sugar better, or you're focusing on helping them feel full so that they can eat less or eat an appropriate amount. Or if you're working on digestive tuning up, what might be some of the things for us to think about. So I'm going to dive into that. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. And just note that I run this through eCam service. And so I do that so that I can, just noticed, I think I have a hole in my shirt. I noticed that I do that so that I can keep the recording, so that if anyone wanted the recording, and so that Facebook doesn't own all of my material. But when I do that, sometimes if you pop in and I don't know your name or don't see you, then I might just be like, hey, instead of saying like, yes, Sarah, thank you for asking your question. So just say, hey, it's Sarah, here's my question, and we can go from there. All right, so let me pop over to fiber evaluation. So what I'm going to be showing you today is our fiber evaluation. Keep in mind, this is the practitioner version, so it does not have the recommendations in here. If you get the shop of tools, you get both the practitioner version and the patient version. The patient version would have in the recommendations, what do your answers mean? But this version, but the patient version also has hyperlinks in it to the Better Nutrition Program. So this is the patient version, the version we recommend that you use with your, I'm so tongue-tied today. This is the practitioner version, the version that I recommend you use with your clients, and this provides an editable notes section. One of the reasons that's great is that we could type on there some of the comments that we're about to go over. Okay, so some of the things that we want to start off with is making sure that everybody understands why fiber is so important. And, I think there's a lot of information about what fiber does and doesn't do. And so I think that part is great. But then most importantly, where I like to dive into the conversation is about fiber in whole food forms. And so we'll talk about that in a second. But this just gives you a quick primer on how much we should be getting in. I also at this point like to remind people that just like water, it is better for us to not get all of our 25, 30, 35, 38, 40 grams in at once, not even getting in 10 or 15 grams at once, but spacing it throughout the day. And when you talk about fiber, it's a great time to have a conversation about water because the two, as we know, partner, right? And so that water and that fiber, if you're pit stopping for them regularly throughout the day, not only is water escorting nutrients into the cells where it needs to go, but it's also helping the fiber move through you. And also that's part of helping fiber make you feel full, especially, you can give the example to somebody of like chia seeds where if you put water or flax seeds and you see how it like binds and it gets mucilaginous, you can explain to them how that's going to help move things through, kind of like a snowball, where it picks stuff up as it's going along, but also to help you feel more full. So things that fiber does do, helping you to feel satisfied, helps as part of getting to a healthier weight and maintaining a healthy weight. Really important for heart health, of course, helping with the removal of cholesterol, but also helping with the removal of used estrogens and other, from a hormonal health standpoint, that's going to be important. Supporting better digestion, obviously, to aid in elimination and removing waste products. And then also with blood sugar management being really helpful there. And here's where we start with, there are a variety, you guys all know this, of different forms of fiber. But I think one of the key things to really dive into at this point is not all fiber is created equal. And a lot of fiber supplements are the thing that is making somebody feel more bloated if they're dealing with a bloated issue. I've seen, fiber supplements that have artificial colors and sweeteners in them. And, that's not gonna be a problem if somebody was using a fiber supplement for a couple of times in a month or in a year. But if it's something that we're choosing to use on a daily basis, then it is gonna be important. Likewise, taking a fiber supplement can interfere with the absorption of other supplements, whereas getting fiber in as part of your overall nutrition intake along with other nutrients is less likely to that. It still could do that, but it's less likely to do that. So that's also something that is going to be really important. So the first thing that we want to do is really just look at how often are we getting in these different items. And this will be helpful to help understand where people are sourcing fiber from, and if they have an awareness that there are different kinds of fibers in these different foods. This will also give you some, and I love using this one in conjunction with both the digestive evaluation and the magnesium evaluation, but it'll give you some indication of if there's some bloating going on, if there's constipation going on. So one of the issues that we see a lot of times in medicine is that somebody will be told, to make things very simple, if you're constipated, oh, we want to increase your fiber intake. Well, we know that if there isn't a good amount of motility, movement going on, either the person is sedentary, they're not moving their midsection, or their magnesium and calcium balance isn't better, or there are other things that are affecting their motility, then putting fiber into that system is likely going to be worse, not better. So likewise, I was sharing last night with a couple of people who travel, if you're somebody who's getting on an airplane or you're sitting for longer periods of time, having the fiber when you're actually sitting or on the airplane may be more disastrous than beneficial. So we want to look at, it doesn't mean to avoid all fiber, but we might want to keep our fiber lower, and then also really make sure we're getting in enough water at that time. And what that ends up being for most of us traveling on a plane is just not worth it in terms of the amount of time we'd have to spend going to the bathroom. So we can look at options in the rest of the day and to make things a little bit easier on our system, and look at things that might provide a little bit of fiber. Like, for example, maybe you have, maybe you're taking stuff with you, so you do, maybe you take guacamole and some cucumbers, and add a little bit of spice like rosemary or oregano to the guacamole. And that will still give you a good source of fiber, but it's not going to be as if you had an apple on the plane, or maybe you have some berries and a little, sweet potato, and those could do well. And I have other people where it's like, no, we just don't want to have that while we're on the plane, but they'll do better once they're on the ground, have been able to move the body. And on the plane, instead, we focus on getting in magnesium. So maybe that's where they're doing dark chocolate. Maybe they're doing, making sure they're getting in some protein and healthy fats. So maybe we do some like dark chocolate with cashew and almond butter, which, by the way, is fun on a plane and is more likely to be help them not make some of the less good choices. So they're just different things to think about there. So this is going to be a way to look at where is their fiber coming in from. And one of the things to really look at as we get down to the bottom, as I was just talking about, is are they taking a fiber supplement And does your packaged food state that it's added fiber, high in fiber, is a good source of fiber? This is a really great place. Just that last question alone is a great place to have a conversation, that just because something is saying it has the fiber, high in fiber, good source of fiber, it's actually not telling you anything about the actual fiber. And this is where we can see isolates of fiber, an inulin or chicory root, and we can see high amounts of certain things that have been added, where if they were eating the whole food, they may get overall better nutrition, and also may get a source of fiber that's going to be less irritating to their system if they're dealing with irritation. So the second part here will help you, and you can use the Better Nutrition Plan if you want to. Otherwise, you can go through with them what a serving size is. Typically, with chickpeas and beans and things that are cooked, I'll do about half of a cup cooked. Likewise with oats and your grains on that part. With vegetables, we usually do about a cup, or half of a potato, half of a sweet potato, berries. And with the fiber supplement or packaged foods, they're going to actually have to note that amount down. So they can do this calculation in the note section, or they could do it on a separate page. And the way that I work with this particular tool is, if they're getting less than one serving and they check that box, then that's like an X, right? Nothing counts on that in that side, and that's just helpful for you to see that they're not getting those in. But if they are getting in greater than one serving, then I might have them add in that column what number. So they might write a 2 or a 3 or that kind of thing, or they can just do a check mark in that box. And then likewise, if they add a serving, they could do, so let's say that they're getting in 2 servings, they could put a check mark in the first box here, like that, and they could put a check mark here, and then you would know it's 2 servings. And so then when we get down to the end, they're going to add that part up here. So for every check, it would be considered a 1. And so it would be 1 plus 1 is 2, and maybe they had these 2 done, but then they only had 1, 1, 1. They add up the numbers, and then it comes over to whatever else they're getting in. And that's just going to help you start to get a sense of, it's your basic fiber calculator. Yes, you can do these with different apps, and they can calculate different things. But one of the things that apps don't tend to do is actually show you where they're getting in the sources of fiber from as well on this part. So I think this is a really easy visual way to start to see that piece. And then we also ask some questions about starting to take a look at what might be going on. And this is a great way to have conversations about why it's so important to be getting in fiber, but also, if you haven't done the digestive evaluation for some reason, and we're just doing the fiber evaluation, like maybe you're just doing this as its own, maybe you're doing a workshop on fiber, or a quick conversation on a social media like I am, on fiber, and you want to use this. And then you ask questions like, do you have such complaints as bloating, constipation, loose stools? And if they say yes, then number one, that should trigger immediately doing the digestive evaluation. But it also allows you to have a conversation about, why might you be bloated? It could be the type of fiber, especially if you notice it after taking in fiber. It could be the type of fiber. It could be that your fiber sources are from foods that are great for you, but they just are a little bit more bloating, like your cruciferous vegetables, for example. Or if they have constipation, remember, then you could have the conversation, hey, we could work on your fiber intake, especially if we see that it's low, but maybe we really want to start with your magnesium intake and just do a quick check to make sure that we're getting in enough there, and that magnesium calcium balance. Because if we don't have motility, as I've said repeatedly, then we put more fiber into that system, we're actually just going to be making things worse on that part. Loose stools, we actually may want to look at adding in fiber, but we also may want to look at their balance of probiotics. So maybe they need a Saccharomyces boulardii or a bifidobacteria. And if they get in a bifidobacteria, maybe we want to make sure that we're feeding that bifidobacteria with the right prebiotic, like an XOS, or just looking at some of the different, like green banana or some of the prebiotics, to make sure that they're actually absorbing and that the prebiotics have enough going on that they can set up a healthy environment and thrive. With loose stools, I've also noticed, and there are some supplements that I actually really like in this part, that there are some fibers that are a little bit better. So rice bran might be a little better. Apple pectin might do a little bit better. Psyllium husk may do better, depending on the individual. Of course, if we're dealing with FODMAP, that's going to be different when we look at the types of fiber somebody should be getting in and how much they can get in at one time. So you can see how asking these questions here are going to be really helpful. And likewise, if you have high blood pressure or family history of heart disease, that should be an immediate, let's move over to, looking at the heart health evaluation and also the potassium sodium evaluations just to see how we're doing on that part. So we can start to see where how this tool is a framework for helping us get to some of these other ones and do that very quickly. So I just want to pause there. One of my favorite tools is fiber evaluation because I think it really helps us do some great meal planning. And remember, you can use the fiber evaluation, for example, with meal planning tools, like maybe you have living plate meal plans, or maybe somebody's actually ordering from, like, I love to send people to Urban Remedy, or if they're in Columbus, I might have them go to Lex and Lemons or Paletta or Territory Foods or Sunbasket or wherever they're ordering. But if they've been ordering or before they're ordering, you could do the fiber evaluation. Hello. Unfortunately, Allison, great. I was like, unfortunately, I can't tell who that is. Thanks, Allison. It finally popped up. It's great to see you too. We're talking about fiber, which, as you know, just so awesome for us and awesome to get in, but it can be difficult. So I was saying, if somebody's ordering or deciding to do meal planning, you may want to do the fiber evaluation first and figure out what their fiber goals are. And as I was expressing to someone last night, it's important that, we approach it, whether we're approaching water, whether we're approaching our steps outside. We don't want to say to somebody, or our steps during the day, hey, if you're currently getting in 2,000 steps, I'm not going to tell you that your goal now is 10,000 steps a day. That's pretty aggressive. I might say, let's figure out how we could get you to 3,000 steps a day. And so likewise, if you're getting in 5 or 10 grams of fiber, I'm not going to jump you up to 40 grams of fiber as a goal. What we want to do is we want to look at how can we increase our fiber intake, maybe with 5 more grams. And I'd really love to see that 5 grams either added to somewhere, an eating occasion where you're not getting in any fiber currently. So maybe you've just been having a coffee with almond milk, right? And we could say, hey, maybe you want to have an apple with that, or you want to have half of an apple with some peanut butter. We want to work on being able to figure that part out. Or we could spread out that 5 grams and dump, 2 or 3 grams in one area and 2 or 3 grams at another pit stop, so that we're just not adding it all at the same time. And likewise, when we add, the rule of thumb that I use is for every 5 grams of fiber at any particular eating occasion, you want to get in 8 ounces of water. Now, that 8 ounces of water could come from your coffee, or not your coffee drink, but your coffee or your tea, as long as it's not doing that, as long as you're not doing that at every eating occasion. But we do want to get that part in. And so you really want to have that conversation as you're meal planning and increasing fiber, or if they're ordering food from somewhere, making sure that we are setting our water goals in conjunction with the fiber allocation on that part. But we do have our fiber menu for adults and for kids. And what this does, and you'll see I've of course mentioned here that we want to use the Better Water evaluation. And so what we'll see here is these are just examples. So remember, our menus at the Better Nutrition Program are not menus to put somebody on for 7 days and have them do this for and repeat it every week. That's meal planning. But what we want to do here is show people ways that they can increase their fiber intake. So, and find a way to reach that 30, at 25 grams, 28 grams, 30 grams, wherever we are. We've got a great variety here. And we can point out things like, oh, when I use the whole grain pasta, some people may think their whole grain pasta is providing like 5 or 6 grams, right? Well, there's a big difference between, say, doing that whole grain pasta and maybe a bean-based pasta, or maybe actually having beans instead of pasta, or maybe having cauliflower instead of pasta. So you can start to see like, oh, if I did the cauliflower instead of the pasta here, I actually get a higher gram of fiber. And so you can use this menu as a teachable tool. One of my favorites is to show how high in fiber hemp seeds are, and the fact that they also provide those essential fatty acids, especially for hair, skin, and nails, and for hormonal health. So that's really great. One of my go-to tools if I'm working on weight management, trying to help somebody who is going through menopause or perimenopause. Maybe they're dealing with belly fat and you're saying, oh, what's going on? We can work with hemp seeds to help get in fiber. They don't have any other carbohydrate. They've got great sources of protein and essential fatty acids. And so that's one that you'll see a lot throughout here as a way to help meet both our fiber goals and also get in some of these other healthy fats on that part. And of course, one of the other things too is you can obviously show how you could take an ordinary breakfast like oatmeal and upgrade it from 4 grams to 7 grams of fiber and make it absolutely delicious, but also more nutrient balanced. Now, if I was making it with homemade cashew milk, I might even get in a gram or two of fiber, just depending on how much of the milk. Usually it's 2-to-1, it might be a 3-to-1, so you might only get about a gram in there, but we can still show on that part. And then of course, adding the organic cacao powder in there, you're actually getting, not just getting the gram of fiber, but you're also getting in magnesium. So we're starting off with something that's feeding our good bacteria, helping the motility of our system, giving us that nutrient balance so we're more likely to be satisfied and really get that 3 hours of great nutrient balance. Now, one of the things on our digestive tune-up, we actually aren't doing a lot of chickpeas. We're doing smaller beans. So one of the things you could do here, if you're working on someone for digestive health and one of the issues, maybe they're feeling more bloated, well, turmeric and lime juice and olive oil, great for you on that part. But maybe what you want to do is smaller beans. So maybe you want to use lentils here, and do it that way. Or likewise, if somebody feels more bloated with cauliflower or broccoli, you could always change these things over to a greens, or like a green beans or a sauteed veggie, and just be able to look at how that affects their fiber intake. Another one, I like to teach people how easy it is to actually make your own egg McMuffin and McMuffin sandwiches at home, especially if you're using sweet potato with the skin. And so you can do that and you get just a higher, not only do you get a variety, and this helps you with your rainbow nutrition, but also by adding the chia seeds in there, you're going to get in the add in increased fiber. And so this could be a fun way, if you make these at home, to do this more often rather than doing the Starbucks egg muffin. Like I had a client that was just getting that all the time, and I was like, you can actually make these and they're good for a couple of days, and doing it that way. And then just a reminder that it can be an easy way to get in 3 grams of fiber. Just have carrots, right? And you could do mustard or a different dressing, so it doesn't have to be something super complicated on that part. So what you'll see throughout here are, and remember at the Better Nutrition Program, we don't ascribe say any one particular diet. So if you have somebody who's doing dairy, great. If you have somebody who's not doing dairy, great. Like this could be a coconut yogurt. It could be Kite Hill's almond milk, Greek yogurt. I use their branded name because I feel like they're the only one doing the Greek in the dairy free, but I might be wrong on that part. And here we actually included the brand Nature's Path just because their Kia cereal is unlike others. It's just a blend of seeds. And so it's a great choice for getting in. You could also just make this a couple of teaspoons of hemp seeds or do your own blend of nuts and seeds there. And so what you do is you get the several different days of both of meals and snack ideas to help you see how you can reach anything above those 25 grams on a daily basis. So you've got that. Remember, we often criticize smoothies for not being a good source of fiber, but you can actually have them be a great source. You can also use frozen. So this kale could be frozen. These peaches are frozen. We've got our homemade cashew milk or unsweetened on that part. You could use dried apricots, or you could use dates if you prefer. And with, just depending on what we're looking for from a flavor standpoint, and you can still get to 4 grams of fiber. So your smoothies don't have to be devoid of fiber. Of course, you could add in, I love to use the Uplift Foods prebiotic fiber to get a little bit more in here. So that could be a way to upgrade it, but really valuable to make sure, because I think sometimes both we aren't getting fiber in when we're doing some of our juices or our smoothies. And then the second part is a lot of times they aren't thick enough that they actually are satisfying, right, to help you feel full. So we want to make sure that they do their trick and they don't send somebody going back. And this one ended up being a much higher amount of fiber in the day, but part of that was just because we had a very high, our salad was very high in fiber, and then that ends up making it to be a bigger bang there, as well as we had this salmon and black bean pasta. But one of the ideas here is you could take any of these recipes and put them in on one of those other days that was a lower fiber option, and that would be helpful as well. So I just wanted to pop in today for our office hours and talk a bit about fiber because I think it's one of the best things that we can be talking about as we build added sugar budgets for our clients over the holidays and help them try to stay on those. But also really having those conversations about fiber and having it in a way of, yes, we know these are goals of what we need to have you. Hey, Meg, we want to have you meet, but at the same time, there are fiber mistakes that we know are turning people off of fiber, right? All the time. I've had people say, oh, I was eating a fiber-rich cereal. I was so, I farted in the morning. I was gassy. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't want to have these things. And it's turned them off of their fiber intake. We also know other people who are maybe more on the keto-ish side, or maybe, on the low carb side, are not meeting their fiber goals. And that's where you can use something like that menu to show them where, your cacao, your hemp seeds, really getting in some of those different vegetables, even in small amounts, and spices. You just need tiny amounts of spices in order to get in your fiber as well. So a lot of ways to use these tools. And again, I was showing you the practitioner versions, which are only available with our Shop of Tools purchase. So if you just purchase the fiber evaluation, you would be getting the patient version, which has the recommendations built into it, which is totally fine to use. Or if it's also one of the reasons we find people like the Shop of Tools, because you get both. So you can read what our recommendations are, but then you could use the practitioner version with your particular client so that you're able to write in the recommendations for them on that part. So I will pause there. I know it's office hours, but I like to gift anyone back. Ooh, if I can gift you 30 minutes, absolutely. Some of you may be joining me in about 15 minutes for our webinar with Fullscript on dietary supplements, recommendations, should you have a store, all of these questions, and how the Better Nutrition Program tools and the Better Nutrition Program shop, or your supplement shop, can work together to help you create these total nutrition recommendations for your clients, so you can figure out where you might need a fiber supplement and how to put that in. So that's coming up at noon today. So I will stop. But if anyone has a question, now's a great time. Any questions about the tools? In addition, just also to remember, if you have a win, please, I love to help you shout it from the rooftops. I feel like when we work by ourselves, that it can sometimes, we have this weekly win and it doesn't, we're just telling ourselves, oh, you're awesome, like great job with that weekly win. But it could be so much more fun to be sharing that win with all of us. So I invite you to do that. I think a win for me was really just, I took off the weekend. Well, I had to work I did give a talk on Saturday, but I really took off Sunday completely, had a ton of fun in Los Angeles. We did our holiday weekend early because the holidays are going to be otherwise occupied with family here. So we wanted to do our holiday weekend, and I got to go to the Lakers and have a great basketball game. So that was fun for me. Anyway, I hope all of you are doing well, and I look forward to seeing you next week for office hours. Remember, if you have a question or a case study that you want to submit, you can do that here, or you can email it directly to me, Ashley@thebetternutritionprogram.com. If you have any questions, or you want to set up a time to go over your business and inquire about how the tools could work to help you either reach your marketing goals, your business goals, or to help you working with clients, or if you're interested in collaborating on a tool, please email team@thebetternutritionprogram.com, and we will get you set up for a call and make sure that we've got you in talking to the right person, and we can figure out how we're going to work together. So we'd love to do that. All right, everybody, have a good one. And for those of you that I'll see in about 30 minutes, I look forward to seeing you on the Fullscript webinar. Take care.